Break up the Royals. They've won 7 of 8 heading into a series tonight at Milwaukee, and although it's not enough to get them into the playoff picture, it's encouraging to see the development of the starting rotation, especially Brady Singer. Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Friday, September 18th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. Beat writer Lynn Worthy stops by to talk Royals, including the recent performances of Singer and Brad Keller. We also talk about the recent news involving Danny Duffy, who missed his previous start after missing a team flight. After a break, we'll talk Chiefs because, well, it's football season. You'll hear from defensive end Frank Clark, who met the media on Thursday. Clark spoke to playing with improved health and gave his thoughts on defending the LA Chargers and quarterback Tyrod Taylor on Sunday. But first, let's talk Royals with Lynn Worthy. Okay, Lynn, I took the calculator out this morning and applied the Royals 21 and 29 record, projected over 162 games, and they would be in a 162 game season 57 and 78. So not great, right? I mean, it's still 19 games under 500, and would be, as they are now, pretty much out of postseason contention. But when I looked at it, 57 wins projected over 162 games last year when they got their 57th win, they had 99 losses. And over 162 game season with a 78 projected loss, when they got their 78th loss last year, they had 43 wins. So this is I guess winning 7 out of 8 in a 60 game season can make a big difference to a team, as it has for the Royals. But that's a little bit of progress, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's not obviously a one of those storybook turnarounds, but it's still a far cry from back to back 100 loss seasons. And I think the other thing is you see signs of things that you can talk yourself into, at least it's encouraging going forward. Whether that's the young pitchers, that's the health of some your key guys like Salvador Perez, or just Mondesi being able to do some things at the plate where it looked like he couldn't do anything for a while there.
Let's talk about. Let's start with the pitching. It really has been terrific starting pitching for the Royals. This is an organization that has really had a tough time over the X number of years drafting and developing starting pitching, and now all of a sudden here's an organization that is rolling out young pitchers who are doing an outstanding job. Let's start with Brady Singer, back to back games of shutout performance in his start. So he's got 14 consecutive scoreless innings. He was a terrific in Detroit. I don't know if you can. The first one of those efforts was against Pittsburgh. The Pirates may be the worst team in baseball and having all kinds of problems this year, but Detroit's still swinging the bat pretty well. Have
Well,
some.
well,
Go ahead.
actually, the near no hitter was the last game in Cleveland,
Oh,
and
that's
we're talking
right.
about
That's
a
right.
playoff team here. I mean, so
Thanks
that's
for reminding me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because I mean, they did get they had that string of 6 straight wins, and 3 of those are against Pittsburgh, which you could kind of say like, all right, Pittsburgh is, I mean, you could say Pittsburgh is sort of the dregs, but at the same time, you're like, well, the Royals record wasn't all that stellar at that point either.
True.
So I mean, but the part that I guess is easy to forget is that the first 3 of those games of that 6 game stretch was against Cleveland, who's a team that was right there in the mix at the time, at least with Minnesota and Chicago for the Central Division, and the team that was, probably projected by a lot of people to be the Central Division champ this year. So the first 3 wins, including that Singer near no hitter, was in Cleveland, against it was on the road against Cleveland.
So what is he doing well? Why is this succeeding? I mean, he's young. We were talking about him, before we knew how the baseball season was going to shape up. Whether he was going to be with the team coming out of spring training. But gosh, he's been so impressive. What's been the key to him, to his success?
Well, there's the old standbys of keeping the ball down and, being able to command fastball, that sort of stuff. But to me, the biggest thing, just from talking to him after each one of the starts that he's had, and I asked him about it after this latest start in Detroit, was his misses. I think are just so much better now, and it's kind of a weird thing to say, but I think, and he even sort of acknowledged it and agreed with it because he's like, yeah, earlier in the year, some of his misses might have been more over the plate, and those were the ones where he's getting hit hard, or he had that stretch where he seemed like he was giving up. He might not have given up a whole lot of runs, but he gave up like a home run or two in like three or four straight starts, and that was because when he was missing, his spot, he wasn't missing his spot off the plate away or off the plate in or down. He was missing his spot out over the heart of the plate, and he was getting hit hard on that miss. It might only be one or two a game, but that one was getting hit hard, and he's not doing that. At least not in these last two starts. He's When he misses, it doesn't seem like he's missing that often, but when he misses, it's not something he's going to have to pay for. And then he's, again, those old, like I said, those old standbys that command his fastball. He's really doing most of it with just two pitches, the fastball and the slider. And he's got a good command of that slider where he's able to make it look different ways when he wants. But to me, the biggest thing is him not missing the way that he was earlier and being able to keep teams to just weak contact singles. I mean, I think in the last two starts, there's been like one runner has reached second base. I mean,
Wow.
and it's you mentioned the 14 scoreless, and then there's 16 strikeouts in that span, and I want to say it's four hits or three
Three,
hits.
according to
Yeah, three
the
hits.
Royals
Yeah,
notes, 3 hits.
yeah, three hits. So, um, yeah, that's to me that's the biggest thing is that he's not leaving you something that you can do damage with at all now.
Right. Okay. So again, I'll refer to the Royals' notes. In his last outing against Detroit, threw 10 strikes in the first inning, one pitch away from an immaculate inning of three strikeouts, and only spoiled only by a Miggy Cabrera foul ball. So 10 strikes, 10 pitches, 10 strikes in the first inning, and he struck out the first five in that game. To the only other Royals pitcher in history who had done that was Gilmesh back in 2008. So incredible game, and what a great stretch for Brady Singer, and reason to believe that the horizon, there's just some good things on the horizon with the Royals pitching and the starting rotation. It's not just Singer, is it? I mean, they've gotten, in this stretch, they have gotten quality starts from several guys.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing that I wondered about, I mean, I know it probably was no chance, even looking back on it, that they would let Singer go deep in that game just because he took that no hitter into the eighth and ended up throwing 119 pitches. But they've sort of talked about the idea of these pitchers competing with one another and trying to, push each other. So the fact that in between those two starts was a Brad Keller complete game shutout made me think, well, maybe they're going to let Singer go. I mean, because he's six scoreless, so maybe they're going to let him go and try and match that. But the pitch count from the previous game, they just weren't going to let that happen. But yeah, I mean, like I say, sandwiched in between there is Brad Keller just going, dominant, complete game, his first career shutout. And that one was against Pittsburgh, but I mean, I'm not sure that it mattered who it was against that day. He was not giving up much anything.
All right. Okay. So I'm glad you corrected me on that. I had him pitching against the Pirates, and he was Singer, and it was the last game against the Indians, and it makes it much more impressive. So, how does the rotation set up for the upcoming series that starts tonight in Milwaukee against the Brewers? I guess we're going to see Danny Duffy, who missed his last start.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where that series starts. Is it starts with the return of Danny Duffy to the rotation after him missing Tuesday's start. He was scheduled to be the starter Tuesday for the first game in Detroit. Um, Missed the team flight, didn't make that start. Jacob Junis made the start instead on short notice. I think he found out around 10:30, 11:30 that morning that he was going to be starting that night, and he didn't make it through three, and maybe it was two. I think it was two and a third. I think he made it through and gave up five, and that was the one game that they've lost in this stretch where they've won seven out of eight. But yeah, so Duffy will be back. He'll make the start Friday night in Milwaukee. Um, as far as we can tell, everything has checked out. I mean, the seems like the stance from the Royals has been he missed the team flight, and him missing the start was their discipline for missing the team flight. As far as we know, there's nothing more disciplinary or nothing more to come because it doesn't look like there's more. At least as we can tell right now to that. There was the Fox report that he was found with damage to his car, and the information from the police was sounds like there isn't a whole lot to it other than he had a car that was inoperable. There was no signs of like it wasn't even a full incident report. It was they received a call about suspicious vehicle, suspicious person, so they went out there. They found they didn't even refer to him by name in the information, but found the male in the car, parked illegally. There was a key, the car was off, no keys in the ignition. There's some damage to the vehicle, and they don't specify damage. So I think we don't know if it was a problem with the tire where you can't drive it. It says it was incapable of operating, but we don't know what the extent of that is. So I think people want to some people want to jump to, well, was there an accident or something like that? But when they don't specify the damage, that doesn't necessarily mean that it was like damage, body damage, things that we don't know. That could have been it could have been anything. So we speculating on that.
Right.
Um,
And
and
we haven't talked to him since, right? I mean, he hasn't been
no,
made
no, he hasn't.
available ever
He
since.
hasn't. He hasn't talked since. The Royals have, not really gone into detail about that, and they've said, the indication from them wasn't that the punishment was because there was some other incident. As a matter of fact, the reason that they didn't announce when he was going to start until yesterday was because they were waiting to make sure they had a good handle on what if there wasn't anything else to come before they announced that he was going to start again. So if they found out some more details or some of the information that there was something more behind him missing the flight, then he might have got pushed back even further. But the fact that they have okayed him to start on Friday means that they've from their information that he was it was pretty much a closed case as far as just he missed a flight and they're going to move on from that.
I just wish he had, gotten a ride.
Yeah,
Called
well,
called a
that
friend or
he did end up eventually getting a ride, so that's the thing. But and he made it to he made it with the team that night in Detroit. He didn't make it on their flight, but he made it to meet up with them in Detroit that night. Um, but yeah, like I said, the disciplinary was missing the flight, and it was the thing is that it sounds like there was he missed it by a good deal. It wasn't just like the car incident slowed him down. Didn't make it to the airport. It sounded like um, he missed the flight clearly, and then the car issue was on top of that. But yeah, so that's why they said, okay, well, you're gonna skip that. It wasn't just oh he was running late, so he missed the start. It's like no, no, he missed it. Clearly missed it. And he
yeah.
missed it by it sounds like a couple hours, and so that's why they're like, okay, well, they just skipped him and they called it disciplinary actions, and he apologized to the team on Tuesday. And he was there. You saw him on the broadcast in the dugout on for Tuesday's game. But yeah, they just weren't going to start him, and they weren't going to make any decision until they were pretty comfortable that there was nothing more to come out of this.
The last time we talked, we chatted about Alberto Mondesi's improvement at the plate. That's that's continuing. It's a work in progress, but I don't know if we can have a conversation without talking about Salvador Perez and what he's done since he has returned to the lineup. Missing, oh gosh, I don't know, was it 20 days or
20
something?
20 games, yep, and then came back like there was nothing, like he was never gone. I mean,
Yeah,
I,
amazing.
I mean, just all of the starts and stops this year is sort of mind-boggling to me when you think about there's the start and stop that everybody had with spring training being put on hold, but then he had a late start to the second spring training because of COVID-19. So he had like a week of the second spring training before they started playing exhibition games, and then jumped into the season. And so then he plays and he's playing well. He's probably at that point that he missed those 20 games, the best, he was clearly the best player they had to that point in the season. And then he misses 20 games and he comes back and just jumps right back in. And so as we sit here, he's played in 27 games. He's hitting 349. Um, with all those games missed, he's still got 6 homers and 18 RBIs. Slugging his about is up over 600. OPS is 974. So I mean, this is I mean, and this is the return season too. I mean,
Yes,
this was the,
right.
he didn't play for a full year, had Tommy John, and now he's diving back into things.
Exactly. I don't want to. Well, I think this makes a good point about when Salvi is in the lineup. The Royals this season are 13-14. They're one game under 500, and without him, obviously, they're 7 games under 500. So he makes a difference, and he has certainly made a difference. Multi-hit games in the 5 games since he's returned. A couple of home runs. You mentioned his 349 batting average. He was hitting 307 when he returned last week. So his average has jumped more than 40 points. So it's been fun to see him at the plate. He just seems to be swinging with more discipline. He's a notorious swinger. Just loves to swing the bat, and he
Hmm.
just seems to be more selective these days. Not like he's walking a lot, but he did have a walk in the last game. But he's not missing his pitch, and a couple of home runs, 4 doubles since he's been back. He has just been on fire and fun to see when Salvi's swinging the bat like this.
Yeah, yeah, and that the top third of that lineup now with Mondesi going now and with Salvi in that 3 spot. So you got Witt, Mondi, and Salvi, and I mean they basically drove the bus the last game. The last game in Detroit, they won
Right,
4-0, and all 4 runs came from that group. I think it was 2 hits each for all three of them. Witt scored twice. I think Salvi and Mondi scored once each, if I remember correctly. Salvi drove in 3 of those runs. I mean, it was like that. It was the top third of the lineup, and then everybody else take the day off. Like it was, and they still won the game 4-0. So
right, right. So, okay, all right, Lynn. 10 games left for the Royals. They won't be in the playoffs this year. We'll catch up again next week. Maybe talk about the playoff format and the playoff picture will come into focus a little bit more next week. So we'll catch up with you then, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, you're going to hear interview from earlier this week with Chiefs defensive end Frank Clark. Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
Let's start with Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Frank. What's up, man?
What's up, Sam? How you doing?
Good. Spags mentioned something on when we talked to him just a little bit ago about the fact that you were working off to the side just on your get off. Can you kind of take me through that process and how long that's been? I mean, has that been an emphasis your entire career? Has that been something more recent that you've really tried to hone in on?
No, I've been working on my get off and just doing different stuff like that for my whole career. Really, I kind of picked up the habit back in the day. I had a defensive coordinator in college, Greg Madison, and he kind of coached my position as well. He kind of taught me a lot of things. Just throughout the course of a practice, your hips get locked, your hips get tight from you being on the field working to in between reps and stuff like that. So I do stuff like that just to stay loose, constantly just training my mind, training my body. That repetitive, muscle memory, just getting off the ball and just staying on top of those things like that.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam. Oop, try again, Adam.
Yeah, Frank, we good? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, I'm wearing this hat just for you today, by the way.
Oh man, I said it's terrible.
You sure looked the other night like you feel better physically than maybe you did all of last season. Is that accurate? Or if you did eventually feel like you do now, was there a point maybe a line where you can draw where, hey, this is where I started to feel this way last year, if that makes any sense?
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I am feeling better. Like I said, our staff here did a great job. And, just me coming back in from our off season and just figuring out, getting everything corrected, getting all my correctives and stuff like that in order so that I could start this season off fresher than I did last year. Also, just getting through camp, I started off camp a little sick, but, was able to come back, midway point and finish out camp strong and just get my feet under myself. And, that was my goal, just to start this season healthier than I had started the past previous years. Man, you say dating back, 3 years ago, it seemed like I started every season with a different injury, whether it was an elbow or, whether it was a neck or whether it was, this or that. It was just something different. And, just to start this season off and, continue to go into the week strong and continue to be out there with my guys. It's dope, man. Seeing the results and, being able to just be out there and compete and, talking my stuff like I do, man.
Let's go next to Harold Kuntz. Go ahead, Harold.
Hey, Frank, a few things for you. Tyrann Mathieu after the game said he was, quote, pissed off. You feel the kind of same way about that performance against Houston? Does that help you, especially with the rookies, when you're studying film and getting involved with them? Now that you have something tangible to look at, that you can help them, especially a guy like Tershawn Wharton. And also want to get your thoughts on Arrowhead Stadium now officially being a polling place location, and what do you think of that?
Oh, man, it's dope. We encourage everybody to get out there and vote. That's one thing we've been kind of pushing since, pushing the narrative on that since we've been back in the building. And, more than ever now, our each vote counts, but more than ever, it's so important for us to get out there and vote and cast our ballot. But, pissed off, man, that's the that's the word, man, because, you pride yourself on stopping the run, finishing games strong as a defense. And I feel like we stopped the run for the most part. Let a few at the end of the game get away. Deshaun had a few scrambles, as we was rushing the passer when the game was, obviously in our hands. But, it's just finishing games. We give up 2 touchdowns, I believe, in the fourth quarter when the guys we had them held to 7 points at that point. And just finishing the game, finishing drives, not letting them those extended drives where you can get off the field, on the first series, and then you let it extended, and it stands to a touchdown, stuff like that. We had some good signs. No penalties on defense, stuff like that. So it was some good signs out there. It wasn't all bad. It wasn't as bad as I feel like, last year. Whereas, you get a team coming here in the Texans, and they obviously look way more prepared than us, and it just takes us having to fight and, get it out the mud basically, and to claw and scratch for a victory. And always going to be a competitive team. Got a great quarterback over there leading them, Deshaun Watson, the escape wizard of the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's just competition. Competition's at an all-time high right now, and you can see just coming out, playing those guys' first game, you can tell they wanted us.
Go next to Breland Moore. Go ahead, Breland. Breland, you got us? All right, we'll come back to you, Breland. Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Frank, I just have a general question for you. We know that you love to rush the passer and stuff the run, but how much pride do you take in your ability to drop back when that is the call?
I'm really a DB in my spare time. I tell my coaches stuff all the time, Back in the day, I used to play a little bit of DB, so, my hips still good. I can still open up, the hips, eyes, hands. That's what you need as a DB, So, my coaches, they gave me the verification, let me know I had everything that checked out. And, I got to work on my back pedal, so I'm going to get with T today after practice. I'm going to work on my back pedal a little bit and driving out of that. It's all in my offhand jam. I got to work on my offhand jam a little bit. It's tight end this week. Think he's going to run some routes on me.
Let's give Breland a try again. Breland, can you hear us now? Uh-oh. All right, Breland's out. We're going to go to Seren. Sorry, Breland.
Frank, I'm just curious, get a player's perspective on this. The NFL released their testing numbers, and it's remarkable how low the positive tests are. I think it was 2 players this week out of, all the thousands of tests that have been given, and even the support staff, the numbers are really low. Michigan obviously wasn't going to play football. Big Ten announced they're going to go back on October 24th. You've been through a big-time football program. I think Ed Orgeron said most of his players had tested positive. Why? What do you think is, having lived through that, is the problem with college being so unsuccessful where you guys in the NFL have been incredibly successful as far as avoiding the virus?
I feel like the biggest thing is just like any other places, just, how you control it after you leave, the controlled environment. You can be put into a place of work where, they're doing an excellent job of making sure we're safe, making sure we're socially distanced. And, you get outside of that. You go home, you want to go out to eat, go to restaurants, you want to go, do different things like that are still open, that they might not be practicing their social distancing efforts as aggressive at these places. So, that's where you fall in line and you find guys getting into a little bit of, of a situation there. Even with us, we've been told, just to kind of, watch out how, where we going out to eat at, because you start to see as people get more relaxed with the COVID stuff, you start to see seats get a little bit closer. You start to see people communicating a little bit more. You start to see masks dropping and stuff when people are around each other. And, that's where it's going to start, and we'll never really be able to get a grasp of it until we all buy in. It's a team effort. Everything in life, doesn't, it's not just football, basketball, hockey, stuff like that. It involves a team. It's stuff that's going on in our real world that involves a complete team effort as well.
Close it out with Karen Kornacki. Go ahead, Karen.
Frank, I just want to ask you about Tyrod Taylor. Usually you guys are used to seeing Phillip Rivers when you play the Chargers, but now you've got Tyrod, and when you see him with this particular offense, what are some of the things you've been noticing about him?
He's a veteran, so everything that, he understands systems, he understands blitzes and schemes, and he's very familiar with, of course, different players on our team. I know I've played him when I was back in Seattle. I played him a few times when he was in Buffalo. Even now, he's with the Chargers. He's always been known as an elusive quarterback. If you let him get on the run and allow him to get comfortable in the direction in which he likes throwing, he's going to make some completions. He's going to make some big plays. You seen, what was it, last week? You watch on film. You watch from his pass. If you don't do a disciplined job rushing the passer on the edges, containing the passer on the inside, getting inside, push up the middle, and forcing him to bubble or forcing him to make tough decisions and tough throws over. You want him to force him to make those over the middle. His strengths is throwing to the outside and really throwing those quick routes and stuff over the middle. So, it's just going to be key for our inside and for our edges, our defensive line as a unit to, keep them contained.
That'll do it for today and this week on SportsBeat KC. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Randy Mason, Beth Welch, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to Lynn Worthy for stopping by and talking Royals. Links to Lynn's stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, earlier in the episode, you heard me talk about the Sports Pass offer. It still stands and still a good one. $30 for a year's worth of sports coverage. And that includes the Sports Extra with the e-edition. There are 50 additional pages of national sports coverage today. Well, here's an even better offer. Buy the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. Details are at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. That's account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday with a new episode.